The sun dipped low over Los Angeles, casting soft amber light across the skyline as the day began its slow fade into evening. A gentle breeze rustled through palm trees, carrying with it the scent of warm concrete and distant blossoms. For most people, it was just another quiet weekday evening. For Justin Bieber, it was supposed to be exactly that. Wearing a simple hoodie and sunglasses, he stepped out of a small neighborhood grocery store, holding a modest bag of snacks and bottled water. He had no entourage today, no paparazzi in sight, just a rare, quiet moment in public. Lost in thought about the new music he was working on, he strolled casually toward his parked SUV, enjoying a rare taste of normalcy. Then, something tugged at him. It wasn't loud or aggressive, just a gentle pull at the corner of his hoodie. He turned instinctively, expecting maybe a fan or someone asking for a selfie. But it wasn't that. Standing behind him was a little girl, no more than 6 years old, with golden blonde hair tangled around her shoulders. She wore a soft pink dress and tiny white sneakers, now dusty from the pavement. Her small fingers clutched the hem of his sweatshirt like it was a lifeline. Her chest rose and fell with shallow, rapid breaths, and her eyes, those wide, trembling blue eyes, were filled with something no child should ever carry. Fear. Real, unmistakable fear. Justin knelt down slowly, trying not to scare her further. He offered the softest smile he could manage. "Hey there," he said gently. "Are you okay?" The girl's lips quivered. For a moment, she didn't speak. Her gaze flickered past Justin's shoulder, then back to him. She looked like she wanted to say something, but couldn't. Then, in a voice so quiet he almost didn't catch it, she whispered 3 words. 3 words that sent a chill down his spine and made his blood run cold. Without hesitation, without even asking a single follow-up question, Justin stood up and pulled his phone from his pocket. He dialed 911. His hands didn't shake, his voice didn't falter, but in his chest, a storm had begun to brew, because he knew in that instant something was horribly wrong. What could a child possibly say to trigger such immediate action from someone like Justin Bieber? What did she whisper that made him go from relaxed to razor-sharp in a heartbeat? And who was the mysterious woman who appeared moments later, smiling, calm, and claiming to be the girl's aunt? This isn't a tale of fame or fortune. It's about instinct, about courage, about the terrifying power of silence, and the life-changing weight of 3 whispered words. Stay with us, because what Justin discovered in the next few moments didn't just change his night. It may have saved a life. Justin remained crouched on the pavement, his bag of groceries now forgotten at his side. The little girl hadn't let go of his hoodie. Her grip was tight, desperate, like a child holding on to the last thread of safety she knew. "Are you hurt?" he asked softly, trying to keep his voice calm. No answer. "Are you lost?" Still nothing. Her lips parted slightly, as if she was trying to respond, but no sound came out. She blinked rapidly, fighting tears. Her eyes kept flicking over Justin's shoulder, scanning the parking lot behind him. Justin turned to follow, her gaze. Nothing seemed out of place. A few people strolled toward their cars. Someone was unlocking their trunk. A couple laughed near the store entrance. It looked normal, but her fear was not. This wasn't a child who'd simply lost track of a parent. She wasn't crying or calling for mum. She wasn't reaching out to anyone else. She just stood there, frozen, like something had gone horribly wrong and she couldn't make sense of it. Then came the voice. "There you are." It cut through the air with a strange sharpness. A woman, blonde, mid-30s, well-dressed in a light blue blouse and jeans, strode toward them with purpose. Her smile was wide, almost rehearsed, but her eyes didn't smile at all. Justin stood up slowly, instinctively placing himself slightly in front of the child. The woman dropped to a crouch beside the girl and placed both hands firmly on her small shoulders. "My God, you scared me," she said, forcing a breathy laugh. "You can't just run off like that." But the girl didn't move. No relief, no recognition, No auntie, or hug or cry of joy. She stood as stiff as before, eyes cast downward, hands now clenched into tiny fists. The woman looked up at Justin, her smile tight. Thank you so much for staying with her. I'm her aunt. She's been going through a phase, running off all the time. Justin tilted his head slightly, studying her face. She doesn't seem very relieved to see you, he said cautiously. Oh, she's just shy. Probably overwhelmed, the woman replied quickly, brushing a loose hair behind her ear. Justin looked at the girl again. She wasn't looking at either of them now. She stared at the ground like she was trying to disappear into it. Is she okay? He asked, still watching her closely. Yes, the woman answered, laughing nervously. Just scared. Got a little lost for a moment, right, sweetheart? She gave the girl's shoulders a gentle shake. Still no response, not even a blink. Justin's pulse quickened. He'd met shy kids before. He'd comforted overwhelmed fans, even frightened strangers. But this wasn't shyness. This was paralysis. Fear so deep it muted everything else. He crouched again, lowering his voice to a whisper. Do you want to go with her? He asked. The girl swallowed hard. Her lips parted. Her throat worked, but still no sound. The woman's grip suddenly tightened. Come on, sweetheart, she said with a sweetness that now sounded forced. He's helped us enough. Let's not make this a thing. Justin didn't move. He looked into the child's eyes again. They were shimmering now, on the brink of tears. The air shifted. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Justin rose slowly, keeping his posture calm but alert. He glanced around. Nobody else seemed to notice the tension. To them, it was a pop star chatting with a fan. But Justin's gut told him otherwise. Before you leave, he said, what's her name? The woman hesitated, just for a fraction of a second. Sophie, she replied quickly. Justin looked back at the girl. Her expression didn't change. She didn't confirm it, didn't even flinch. And then it hit him. The girl had never spoken, not even a whisper. So how did the woman know her name? Justin took a small, measured step back, not out of fear, but to gain perspective. From this new angle, he watched the girl carefully. Sophie. That was the name the woman had offered, but something about it didn't sit right. The moment the woman had said it, the girl hadn't reacted at all. Not a flicker of recognition, not the slightest shift in her eyes. If anything, her body tensed, as if the sound of that name made her retreat even further into herself. Justin glanced at the woman again. You said you're her aunt, he asked, keeping his tone casual, almost friendly. The woman's smile stayed, fixed in place. Yes, her mother's sister. We're very close. Must be scary losing her in a public place like this, Justin said, watching her eyes. Oh, definitely, she replied, nodding quickly. She's always running off. You know how kids are. Justin didn't respond right away. He was listening, not just to her words, but to the rhythm of her answers, the pauses between her sentences, the way she seemed to wait a split second too long before each response. Like she was remembering a script. But the real giveaway wasn't her words. It was the child. Sophie hadn't spoken a single word since that initial whisper. And she still hadn't made eye contact with the woman claiming to be her aunt. That wasn't normal, not even for a shy or overwhelmed child. Justin lowered his voice. She hasn't said anything since you got here. The woman's smile thinned just slightly. She's just shy, especially around strangers. He tilted his head, his eyes narrowing slightly. Strangers like me, or strangers like you. That did it. The smile faltered, just for a second, barely noticeable, but Justin saw it. And so did Sophie. Her eyes flicked up for a brief moment. The tiniest spark of hope glimmered there, only to vanish when the woman's hand tightened again on her small wrist. Look, I really appreciate your concern, the woman said, her voice still sweet. but with a sudden undercurrent of tension. "But everything's fine now. We should really be going." She tugged gently on Sophie's arm. The girl didn't move. She looked at Justin instead, and that look, it said everything. Desperation, fear, a plea without words. Justin didn't budge. "If everything's fine, why hasn't she looked at you once? Why hasn't she said a single word?" The woman exhaled sharply. "Because she's tired. She's scared. You're a celebrity. This is overwhelming for her." Justin ignored the deflection. "What's her mum's name?" That question landed like a punch. The woman blinked. Once. Twice. Then she smiled again. "Emily." Too fast. Justin didn't need to be a detective to spot the lie. He crouched again, looking Sophie in the eyes. His voice was a whisper, barely audible. "If you want to stay, just move your foot. That's all." The girl didn't hesitate. Her right foot shifted ever so slightly behind her left. A minuscule, deliberate motion. Justin stood back up and stepped between her and the woman. "She doesn't want to go with you." The woman's demeanor shifted instantly. Her posture straightened. Her fake smile disappeared. "Excuse me?" "You heard me," Justin replied calmly but firmly. The woman's eyes turned cold. "You don't know what you're getting involved in," she hissed. Justin didn't flinch. "No," he said. "But I know this little girl is terrified and she hasn't looked at you once like she knows you." The parking lot remained oddly silent. The world continued around them. Cars passed, people walked by, yet none of them seemed to notice what was happening just a few feet away. "Let me take her home," the woman said, her voice now low and urgent. "No," Justin replied. "I think it's better if we wait here. Maybe the store's security can help sort this out." The woman's eyes narrowed. She was cornered, but she wasn't done. She forced a brittle smile. "Of course, if that makes you feel better." But her grip didn't loosen, and Sophie didn't relax. In fact, her body tensed even more, like she was bracing for something. Justin pulled out his phone slowly. "I'm calling them now." The woman's hand jerked slightly, and that was the final straw. Sophie whimpered, just barely, but it was real. Justin stepped forward, placing himself fully between them. "Let her go." The woman's face changed entirely. Anger, panic, calculation. And then she let go. But not out of surrender. She had something else in mind, and Justin could feel it. This wasn't over. The woman stepped back half a pace. Her posture shifted subtly, her eyes scanning the area like a wild animal cornered but still calculating an escape. Justin noticed the change immediately. Her gaze wasn't panicked. It was focused, controlled, predatory. "I understand you're trying to help," she said, voice softer now, but edged with steel. "But you're making this into something it's not." Justin didn't move. "Then let her tell me herself." "She already did." "No, she didn't. She hasn't spoken a word. She's scared." "She's terrified," Justin corrected. "There's a difference." There was a long pause. The breeze rustled through the leaves overhead. The sound of a car door slamming in the distance seemed unusually loud. Then Sophie did something that shattered the quiet tension. She looked up at Justin again, and without making a sound, her lips moved. "Help." It wasn't loud. It wasn't spoken, but it hit Justin like thunder. His breath caught in his throat. The woman noticed it too. Her jaw clenched. Her eyes hardened. She reached for Sophie's arm again, quickly, as if to snatch her away before anyone else saw. But Justin was faster. He stepped forward and blocked her with his body, shielding the little girl. "You need to back away," he said, no longer friendly, no longer questioning, authoritative. The woman's hands balled into fists. "She's my niece." Then why did she just mouth, "Help"? "You misunderstood," she snapped. "I don't think so." A ripple of unease passed through the woman's features. For the first time, she seemed to lose her cool, and then, without warning, she changed tactics. Her voice rose, not in anger but alarm. "Help!" she screamed. "He's attacking me!" Heads turned. A couple near the entrance stopped walking. A man pushing a cart paused. The woman lunged towards Sophie, reaching for her wrist again. Justin reacted on instinct. He caught the woman's arm mid-motion. Not rough, not violent, just firm, enough to stop her. The woman shrieked, "Let me go!" "Someone, call security," Justin said calmly, his voice cutting through the chaos. "This woman is trying to take a child who doesn't know her." The woman tried to twist away, but Justin held her at arm's length. Sophie stood frozen behind him, her small body trembling. Then, with surprising strength, the woman jerked, her arm free, and shoved Justin backward. He stumbled but didn't fall. Immediately, he stepped back in front of Sophie. "Stay behind me," he told her. Sophie didn't hesitate. The woman's face twisted into something ugly. Hatred, frustration, something primal. She turned and tried to flee, but Justin wasn't going to let that happen. He reached into his pocket, hit the emergency button on his phone, and within seconds, the 911 dispatcher picked up. "Market Plaza parking lot," he said quickly. "Possible child abduction in progress. Suspect is attempting to flee." The woman broke into a sprint. Justin looked down at Sophie. "Come on." He grabbed her hand and ran. They weaved between parked cars, Justin's long strides matching her, short, frantic ones, as best he could. His heart pounded in his chest, not from fear, but from pure adrenaline. The woman darted through rows of vehicles, turning corners sharply, trying to lose them. But Justin was relentless. He wasn't going to let her disappear. Not with what he now knew, because this wasn't random. This woman knew Sophie's name before the girl had spoken. She had appeared too quickly. She had answers too ready. And Sophie never once looked at her like family. She had been watched, stalked, targeted, and Justin Bieber had been at the right place at the right time. As they ran, a new sound cut through the air, a voice, raw, desperate, crying out, "Sophie!" Justin stopped dead. His head turned toward the sound. A woman, barefoot, hair wild, panic etched across her face, was sprinting through the parking lot. Her screams pierced the air. "My baby! Where is she? Sophie!" Sophie's fingers tightened around Justin's. She looked up, and for the first time since this began, she spoke. "Mommy." It was one word, just one, but it carried the weight of everything. Relief, recognition, desperation. Justin didn't think. He scooped Sophie into his arms and ran toward the woman. The second the mother saw her daughter, she dropped to her knees, arms wide open. Sophie leapt from Justin's arms and flew into her embrace. They collapsed together onto the pavement, holding each other, crying, loud, raw sobs of reunion. Justin stepped back, heart racing, throat tight. He watched as the two clung to each other like they'd never let go again. But he knew it wasn't over, because the woman, the fake aunt, was still out there, and she wasn't done yet. The scene was momentarily frozen in time. A mother weeping into her daughter's hair, a child clutching onto her like she'd just come back from the edge of the world, and standing nearby, watching everything, was Justin. His chest rose and fell with every heavy breath. His hands, still clenched moments ago, began to relax, but his eyes, they never stopped scanning. And that's when he saw her. The woman, the so-called aunt, stood just yards away, half shielded by a parked car. Her eyes weren't filled with fear, not even guilt. They were filled with fury. Her expression was not that of someone caught in the act. It was colder, calculated, like someone who had just lost a piece in a game they thought they were winning. Justin took a step forward. "You're not going anywhere," he said firmly. The woman didn't reply. She didn't need to. Her body language said it all, tense, wound like a spring, waiting for one last chance to escape. She glanced to her left, then to her right. She was assessing, calculating, and then she moved. Fast. She turned sharply and bolted through the rows of parked cars, weaving with the frantic, erratic energy of someone with everything to lose. Justin didn't hesitate. He sprinted after her, dodging bumpers, nearly slipping on loose gravel. He didn't call out, didn't yell for her to stop. He didn't waste time. He just ran. But the woman knew the area better. She ducked behind a truck, cut through an empty row, and disappeared around the side of the building. For a second, Justin lost sight of her. Then he heard it, tires screeching. From the front lot, just out of view, an engine roared to life. She had a car. Justin's heart dropped. He pushed harder, legs burning, lungs begging for air as he cleared the row and rounded the corner. There, just pulling out, was a beat-up silver sedan. He locked eyes with her for a split second through the windshield. That same rage, that same promise. This wasn't the end. She floored the gas and sped off. Justin pulled out his phone, breathless. She's escaping in a silver Honda, old model, front bumper dented, heading east on Sunset. Tag starts with 8, can't see. The rest, send backup now. Within moments, the distant wail of sirens began to build. He turned back and ran, this time towards Sophie and her mother. The mother was cradling Sophie like her life depended on it. Her face, streaked with tears, lifted when she saw him. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Thank you. Oh my God." "She told me 3 words," Justin said, kneeling beside them. That's all it took. The mother closed, her eyes overwhelmed. "She's never done that before," she said. "When she's scared, she shuts down. But something in her made her reach for you." Justin nodded slowly. "She's stronger than most adults I know." The first police car skidded into the lot seconds later, lights flashing. Officers spilled out, hands on holsters, ready for anything. Justin stood and raised a hand to get their attention. "She just fled in a silver sedan," he said. "I tried to follow. I got most of the plate." "Sir, we're going to need your statement," one officer said, already flipping open a notepad. Justin nodded. "I'll tell you everything." As he spoke, more units arrived. Paramedics came to check on Sophie and her mother. A crowd began to gather at the far edge of the lot. Word had spread. Someone recognized Justin Bieber. Phones were out. People whispered. But none of that mattered to him. He wasn't there for the headlines. He was there because something inside him had told him not to walk away. And thank God he'd listened. As he finished giving his account to the officers, one of them stepped aside to speak to a colleague. They returned with somber faces. "That woman? She's wanted," the lead officer told Justin. "Suspected in multiple attempted abductions in the last few months, but she always slipped through." Justin's stomach dropped. "So Sophie wasn't the first?" "No," the officer said, "but she's the first who got away." He looked back at Sophie, who now sat quietly in her mother's lap, cheeks stained, with tears but eyes finally softening. "She was lucky," Justin said quietly. "No," the officer replied. "She had someone brave enough to listen." Blue and red lights danced across the parking lot pavement, painting the scene in flickering pulses of urgency. Uniformed officers moved with precision, securing the area, questioning witnesses, scanning the perimeter. A small crowd had gathered, but most kept their distance, watching in stunned silence. Justin stood off to the side, his hoodie now damp with sweat, heart still pounding from adrenaline. Yet he remained composed, alert, present. The gravity of the moment was far from over. Near him, Sophie sat on the curb beside her mother, wrapped in a police-issued blanket. Her small fingers clung to her mom's sleeve, but for the first time, she looked calm. Safe. A female officer knelt beside the pair, speaking softly to the mother while jotting down notes. Sophie didn't speak much, only nodded occasionally, still overwhelmed. But her eyes, those bright, scared eyes from earlier, were no longer wild with terror. They were watching Justin, and in them he saw something new: gratitude. The lead officer approached Justin with an update. "We've sent out a bolo. Her car was spotted on traffic cam feeds just a few blocks from here. Units are pursuing." Justin nodded. "You'll catch her." The officer didn't doubt it. "She's bold, but not invisible." A brief silence hung between them. Then the officer spoke again. "She's been on our radar for months. Always the same pattern. Targeting young children in grocery stores, malls, playgrounds, slipping. Away before anyone can intervene. No one's ever caught her in the act." "Until today," Justin said. The officer's gaze turned solemn. "Until you." Those words lingered in the air. Justin didn't want praise. He wasn't seeking headlines, but he knew what this moment meant. For Sophie, for every child this woman had tried to take, he'd helped stop something truly evil, and that mattered. An hour passed. The chaos slowly settled. The crowd dispersed. Paramedics cleared Sophie and her mum to go home, though officers would accompany them for safety and further questioning later. Before they left, the mother walked over to Justin, Sophie still clinging to her hand. "I don't know how to thank you," she said softly. "You don't have to," Justin replied. She did. He knelt down one last time and looked Sophie in the eyes. "You were so brave today," he said. Sophie hesitated, then took a step forward and wrapped her arms around his neck. It was a simple hug, but it carried 1,000 unspoken words. When she pulled back, she looked up at him with tear-streaked cheeks and whispered, "Thank you." Justin smiled gently. "Always ask for help when you need it, okay? There will always be someone who listens." The mother mouthed a silent thank you again and led Sophie away toward the safety of the police car. Justin watched them go, exhaling, a long, heavy breath. But then, just as he turned to leave, his phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number, forwarded through his manager's emergency line. It read, "You shouldn't have interfered. This isn't over." Justin's blood ran cold. He looked around, but the parking lot was nearly empty now. Only a few officers remained. No sign of the silver car. No sign of her. He showed the message to the lead officer. The man's expression darkened. "She knows who you are," the officer said. "And she's not just anyone. She's part of something bigger." Justin narrowed his eyes. "You mean this wasn't random?" The officer nodded. "We've suspected for a while she's part of an organized ring. Sophie may not have been her only target today." Justin clenched his jaw, then looked up at the night sky, stars just beginning to emerge. This wasn't just a lucky moment of heroism. It was the beginning of something much, much deeper, and Justin knew he wasn't done yet. As the last of the flashing lights faded into the night, Justin remained alone in the now empty parking lot. The air had cooled, and the calm was almost eerie, like the world had paused to acknowledge what had just happened. He sat down on the curb where Sophie had been only an hour ago, his thoughts spiraling through every detail. The trembling hand that had tugged on his hoodie, the whispered, wordless cry for help, the eyes that said more than any scream ever could. He'd walked out of that grocery store thinking about dinner, maybe a new melody to write. What he got instead was a choice, a single moment that demanded he listen not with his ears, but with his instinct. And that moment changed everything. Sophie was home now, safe in her mother's arms, and a predator was on the run, but no longer invisible. It was easy to imagine how different this night could have gone. If he'd walked a little faster, if he'd brushed off the girl's fear, if he hadn't trusted that quiet voice inside him, screaming something wasn't right. It wasn't his fame or fortune that made him a hero that night. It was a decision, one small act of courage, one refusal to look away, and in that, there's a lesson for all of us. Because the world is full of whispers we don't hear, silent cries, flickers of fear behind young eyes, Small signs that something is terribly wrong. Most people walk past, too distracted, too uncertain, too afraid of making a mistake. But what if more of us stopped to ask? What if more of us listened? As Justin stood up and walked toward his car, he glanced back one last time at the quiet lot. It looked just like any other place now, ordinary, forgettable. But tonight, it had been the setting of something extraordinary. Not a movie, not a music video, real life, real stakes, real courage. He opened the door to his SUV, paused, and took one last breath of the night air. Then he got in, started the engine, and disappeared into the city. But something tells us this isn't the last time Justin will face something like this. Because what he discovered later that night, hidden in the aftermath of this chaos, might just change everything again. So stay tuned, because the next chapter will shock you. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, comment, and share. And hit that subscribe button, because next time, we'll reveal what Justin found that will leave you speechless.